sunny Saturday morning, and it's a beautiful day. So we're going to do some movement for our shoulders and our hips, and we're just going to start lying down on your back. So come and lie down on your back. You don't need any special equipment. You could do this on your bed. You can do this on your sofa, and just want you to be comfortable. Lovely. And as you lie there on your back, have your legs out long and just feel comfortable. And if you need something behind your head, put a cushion there or a rolled up towel, and just notice what you notice as you're here. Begin to bring your awareness to your breath without changing it. And notice what presses into the floor. So behind your back, what's pressing into the floor, what isn't. Begin to notice where you can feel where the floor comes up to meet you, maybe at your shoulders, maybe at the back of your pelvis. And as you notice your breath, then you begin to notice the support of the floor beneath you. And you bring your awareness to notice any sounds apart from my voice. Maybe you can hear anything that's going on outside the window, traffic, birds singing, voices. And bringing that awareness to connecting to the environment by using your ears so you can hear what's going on. And also connecting to yourself at the same time by noticing your breath. So just orienting, being aware, noticing what you notice, what you sense. You just bring your attention then to noticing your hands, the width of your hands, the length of your hands, where they're resting right now. And as you notice your breath, can you be aware of your hands at the same time? Can you be aware of your breath, your hands, and your feet all at the same time without feeling overwhelmed? If you start to feel that you can't notice all of them at the same time, maybe just notice your breath and your hands. And if you feel you could notice your breath in your hands and your feet, start to layer that into noticing your pelvis, where your pelvis is, the width of your pelvis, the depth of your pelvis. And then notice the legs, right leg, left leg. If one feels longer than the other, one feels wider, how they rest, where they're resting, the back of the legs. Noticing your feet, how long the feet are, the width of your feet. And we tend to have some sense of ourselves by measuring things like the size of our feet, what size clothes we wear, the weight of ourselves. But can you actually notice the length of your feet? And is it the same to the length of your hands? If you took the length of one of your hands from the base of your palm to the tip of your finger, would it be the same as the length of your foot, or would the foot feel longer or shorter? How many lengths of your hands could you fit to the length of a foot or one of your feet? And then consider the length of your nose on your face. How long is your nose? How many lengths of your nose could you fit to the length of your hand or the length of your foot? And then notice the width of your mouth. How wide is your mouth? How wide is your smile? And how many widths of your smile could you fit to the length of your hand, to the length of your foot? You bring that a sense of awareness to yourself and how we have stories about ourselves and how much we weigh, how wide we feel we are, how heavy we feel we are, but just bringing it into a different awareness, we can change the story. And as you're lying there on your back, could you allow your knees to bend so your feet are standing, your feet are resting on the surface that you're on? Okay. And we're going to start to think about arching and flattening the lower back. We've probably done this so many times, arching and flattening your back, but think of it from a different way. Rather than thinking about arching and flattening the back, put your one hand flat on your pubic bone. Behind your pubic bone is your bladder. Now imagine inside of you there is a little seesaw, and your bladder is on one end of the seesaw, and on the other end of the seesaw is your tailbone, your coccyx, the base of your pelvis, base of your spine. Now, seesawing the bladder and the pelvis, let them play on the seesaw. One goes down, the other one comes up, and as one comes down, the other one comes up. So as the bladder goes down, the coccyx on the other end of the seesaw lifts, and you feel that what happens to your pelvis, what presses into the floor, and what lifts. And as the seesaw of the bladder end lifts and the coccyx side of the seesaw comes down, notice what changes in your back, what presses into the floor, and what lifts. And they just alternate between seesawing with the bladder and the coccyx. They're having fun in the little playground in the pelvis. Notice what presses into the floor, what changes, and what lifts as you change the seesawing movement. What arches, what flattens, what presses, what lifts. What could you press into the floor to help the lift? Notice what your feet are doing as you gently seesaw these movements between the bladder and the coccyx. How does that change pressure in your feet? You can notice that. Maybe it changes. Maybe you can sense that. And then let that go, let it rest. And you're going to put your right hand behind your head and bring your elbow in. And you're going to pick up your left foot, hug your left knee in with your left hand, but just in front of the shin, just below the knee. Your right hand's behind the head, left hand is hugging the left knee in. And you're going to do this again with this seesawing movement, but you're going to allow your head to lift. So the elbow comes in, the left hand gently pulls the knee towards you as you try and bring the knee and the elbow towards each other. They don't have to meet, they're just doing this gentle rotation. And then you come back, and as you let it go, the elbow opens up as your head comes back down to rest. And then you go again, the elbow comes in, you have this seesawing movement so the back flattens, and you feel what presses into the floor. What's happening with that seesaw between the bladder and the coccyx? As the elbow and the knee come towards each other, and then they let go. As you open up, elbow goes, head comes back. And then just one more, what presses into the floor to help you twist and move over with the elbow towards the knee? What presses down into the floor or into whatever it is you're resting on? And what lifts to help you come back? And then let that go. Let your hand come back down. Rest your foot back down. Then put the left hand behind your head. Elbow comes in. Pick up the right foot off the floor, hugging the knee in, but below the knee, so it's on the shin, top of the shin. And as you gently bring that left elbow across the head or lift towards the right knee, The knee comes towards your elbow. Now they don't have to meet, it's just going in that direction. And then you come back and you let the elbow open up. Now as you come around again with the elbow towards the knee, you might notice that the back is flattening. You're pressing into the floor. So what's happening with that seesaw? What presses into the floor to help you move, and what lifts to help you let go? And the last one, only doing 3 of each. And as you come back, you let that go. Now put both hands behind the head. Now you can either link your hands together or have your palms resting. And then the elbows come together. Allow that lower back to press into the floor. Think about that seesaw, so the bladder. Think about the bladder lifting on that seesaw and the coccyx changing position. And lift your head. Elbows come towards each other and look towards your navel or towards your knees. Both feet are just down. Your knees are bent. And then gently, as you come back, head comes back, elbows open. And then you go again, elbows go towards each other. What presses down into the surface that you're on to help your chin go towards your chest and you'll look towards your belly. What are you pressing into? What presses down? And as you come back and the elbows open, what lifts away from the floor? And then just one more. Elbows come towards each other, head lifts, and what presses down into the surface that you're on? Where can you feel that? And then as you come back, elbows open, what lifts? What can you lift to come away from the floor? And then come back and let that go. Stretch your legs back out and roll over onto one side. Bend your knees when you get there. So, now, when we lie on our side, it can be a bit tricky with what you do with the arm that's underneath you, that's on the floor. So you can have it out in front of you, straight, and you can rest your head on a cushion so your head isn't in this tilty position. Otherwise, one side of your neck is long and the other side is shorter. So we're just bringing tension into that side if we don't rest it on a pillow or on your arm. So you can rest it on your arm or on a cushion or a pillow, and the other arm, can be out straight if you want to. So you're going to focus on the arm that's facing the ceiling. That's the arm we're going to be moving. So take that top of the arm up towards your ear and then back to where you started. So you're bringing some tension into that shoulder as you take that arm up towards your ear and then back to where you started. So this is the arm that's facing the ceiling. Your knees are bent and it's just a shrug towards your ear and then back to where you started, and let that go. Now you're going to take it down in the opposite direction so it goes towards your hip and then back to where you started. Down towards your hip, and notice that you might be moving a little bit in your torso, and that's fine. And then back to where you started, and then one more. Relax your jaw, try not to hold your breath. And then we're going to put that together so it goes all the way up to your ear as if you're shrugging, and then all the way down to your hip. If you're drawing a line with that shoulder that's facing the ceiling, up and down. You might notice a movement in your hip or in your torso. That's totally fine. Just let that happen. You're softening your jaw and then you're letting go and let that soften. And just notice before we do the next movement how that feels in your shoulder right now, the space between your earlobe and your shoulder. Now we're going to let that shoulder roll forwards and then go back to where it started. So it's rolling forward. So if it was a clock face, you'd be going towards maybe 3 o'clock and then back to where you started. And then pause. So just doing 3. And now you're going to go back. So the shoulder is going to go back. So think about that shoulder blade going back towards your spine and then back to where you started, because it's all behind us. We don't think about our shoulder blades that much. You're more concerned about what's happening in the front of the body, but think about behind you, that shoulder blade going back towards your spine as if it's kissing it and then coming forward. Let's put those two together. So roll that forward as you did just now. So we're closing the space in the front of the chest, and then take it back as if it's kissing your spine, opening the space in the chest so the collarbone feels it has space to move. Then it comes forward, closing the space, and then it goes back. Then it comes forward, the spine comes away from your spine, and then it goes back, and it goes back to kiss your spine. And then let it go. And notice how that feels. Just sense, feel how your shoulder feels different. Notice, sense. Then we're going to put all that together. So take that shoulder up towards your ear, bring it forward as if you're going towards the part of your clock face, maybe 3 o'clock. Take it down towards 6 o'clock, towards your hip, then back as if it's going back to 9 o'clock, and then back up towards your ear to 12 o'clock. So take it around that clock face a couple more times, noticing the armpit, what's happening there, noticing the softness in your jaw, in your face. And when you get back up to 12 o'clock, can you pause there for a moment and then take it backwards as if you're just pushing the hands of the clock around the clock face in a different way, unwinding the time. Just allowing any sensations to come through your shoulder, down your arm, into your hand, maybe down your body. And when you get back up to your 12 o'clock position, come back to where you started and let it go. Okay, so with your knees bent, that arm is resting now along your side. I'd like you to bring your attention to your pelvis. So your hand you can have resting in that space that's between where the top of your pelvis is and your ribs. So it's a bit squishy. So let your hands just rest there and your elbow drops back. Now let your hips slide up, your pelvis slides up towards your armpit, and then it moves away. Comes up towards your armpit and then back to where it started. So you feel with your hand, it starts to feel as if it's pressing, it's reducing that space. Now if your arm starts to feel uncomfortable, you can rest it. Now we're just reducing that space between the top of your pelvis and your armpit. So just when you're doing that, what presses down into the surface that you're on? What presses down into the sofa, the bed, the floor? What's pressing to help you move that side, that top side? And then let that go. And now move that hip, top of the pelvis, away from your armpit. And then bring it back to where it started. So as it moves away, notice the space that increases in the top side of your body, of your torso. And what happens to the pressure underneath you that you're resting on that side? Can you notice there's more space? Is there something pressing into the floor? Does the left side of your hip press into the floor so the right side can move? And then come back and rest. And let's put that together. So the top of the hip slowly comes up towards your armpit. Notice what's happening beneath you. And then move that pelvis away from you, the top of the hip, away from the armpit, as if you're drawing a line between 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. And then go again. Keep the softness of the jaw around the face relaxed. Notice what's pressing into the ground. Sense what's happening on the opposite side of the body to let this side of the body move. And then let that rest. And the same with what we did with the shoulder. We're now going to let that side of your pelvis, the front side of your pelvis, where that little bone is at the front, come forward. So it just rolls forward a little, then it comes back to where you started. And just notice again, what else moves with it? Maybe your sternum, your chest bone, moves with it a little, so it helps the ribs move a little. Do you feel movement in your torso? Can you sense what's happening? Can you sense what's happening in your shoulder blade as you move your pelvis? Maybe your pelvis and your shoulders are connected somehow. You sense that. And then as you come back to the middle, pause, and then take it back. So the pelvis goes backwards towards the wall behind you, towards the back of the sofa, wherever it is you're lying on. The back of the pelvis goes backwards. As if I was behind you, my hand was flat on the back of your pelvis. Could you press that into my hand? And what moves with that to help that pelvis move? Maybe your chest bone's moving. If you had a light shining out of it, would it be looking towards the ceiling to help with that rotation and that movement in your hip? And then can we put those two together, the forward movement and the backward movement? Softening your jaw, noticing your breath, gently moving forwards with the hip and then backwards with the hip. Sense what's happening with your spine. Is it moving? Are you allowing your head to move? Could you allow your head to move? Is your nose moving as if it was attached to your sternum, your chest bone? And then let it go. So let's put it all together. So the hip, top of your pelvis slides towards your armpit, and then it comes forwards, and then it goes down towards your foot, and then it goes back, and it comes back up towards your armpit, as if you're drawing a circle with the side of your hip and your pelvis, as if you're drawing it around a clock face on the ceiling. Similar to what we were doing with the shoulder. Can you sense what else is moving here in your body? Can you feel your spine moving? Can you sense that? And then can you reverse it? Can you go back the other way? And then let that go. And just sense how that feels in your hip and your shoulders now. So can we complicate things a little bit? So with your shoulder, can you take that up towards your ear as you take your hip down towards 6 o'clock? So your pelvis goes down to 6 as your shoulder goes up towards 12. So you create quite a length here in the side of your body. And then can you take your shoulder down to 6 as your pelvis comes up to meet it? Notice what is pressing into the floor on the other side of you. And then let that go again. So shoulder to the ear, hip goes away. Can you notice the length and what's lifting on the opposite side of you? And then the shoulder towards your hip and your hip towards your shoulder. And then let that go. And then come and roll over onto your back. Let the legs lengthen out long. Let your arms rest down. And just notice what you notice about the side of you that's worked, that's just done that work with your shoulder and your hip. Notice what you sense, how you're resting on the floor on that side. What's pressing into the floor, what isn't, what you sense about that side compared to the other. And then come and roll over onto your other side, bend the knees. And then with that shoulder, take it up towards 12 o'clock, towards your ear, and then down to where you started. And again towards your ear, and then down to where you started. You're just noticing that movement from the center and up to your ear and back again. And as you're doing that, just sense what's happening with the other shoulder. And then let that go, and then take it all the way down towards your hip and back to where you started. Can you sense what's moving in the back of the body? What's happening to your armpit? And then come back and rest. And then put those two together. Shoulder towards the ear, shoulder towards your hip. Can you sense what you can sense, what's moving in the back of your body, in the armpit. Is your jaw relaxed? Are you clenching anything? Are you tensing up anywhere? And then let it all go. Now bring that shoulder forward and back to where you started. So you're rolling it forward and then bringing it back, and just sense what you can feel moving in the back of your body. Can you sense your shoulder blade moving on top of the ribs? And then can you take that shoulder back so you can open up space for your collarbone, or at the top of your lungs to feel that they've got more space to breathe? And then bring it back to the middle. Let it roll back again. Can you feel what's happening with your shoulder blade as it goes towards to kiss your spine? And it comes back. And one more, and then we put it all together. Lovely. It's a really delicious movement when you really get into the shoulders. It's lovely. And now take your shoulder blade up towards your ear. So we shorten the space. Bring it forwards. Take it down away from your ear towards your hip and then back so that shoulder blade kisses your spine. And then back up again. So you're drawing circles. Just drawing circles. Noticing what's moving in the back. Then the next time you come up towards the 12 o'clock, pause and then reverse it. Go back the other way. So I'm teaching you from a seated position and just talking to you whilst you're doing this, lying on your side. So you could do this seated or standing once you get used to the movement of what you're doing. And then let that go. And notice what you notice about this shoulder now. And then bring your attention to your pelvis. Could you bring that top hip? Can you slide it up towards your armpit and then back towards the middle where it started? So sliding it up towards the armpit. And notice what happens when you do that. What shortens? And then as you let it go, what happens to the other side of your body? What presses into the floor, the surface that you're on, as you shorten that side? And then pause, and then take that hip away from you. So you take it away from the armpit and then back to the middle. And again, notice what happens to the other side of you. Just 3 little repetitions. With the jaw relaxed, the breath still flowing. And then allow that hip, the front of your pelvis, to come forward and then back to the middle. And allow the rest of your body to move. So as you bring it forward a little, you might notice that your navel, your belly button rolls forward a bit, and your sternum, maybe your nose comes forward a little bit. Could you allow that to happen? And then allow that pelvis to go back. So if I was sitting behind you, my hand was behind your pelvis, you'd be pressing gently into my hand and then coming back to where you started. You get that little bit of movement. Finding, just noticing, being curious about what's going on in your pelvis. And then rest. And then could you bring it all together? So that hip comes up towards your armpit. You go forwards, you go down, and you go back around. Up, forwards, down, and back. Nice. And the next time it goes up towards your armpit, can you reverse it? Go back the other way. Lovely. And then let it go. So now bring your attention to this shoulder. Slide it up towards your ear and let your hip move away from you. So create length on that top side. And then slide your shoulder down to 6 o'clock towards your pelvis and let your pelvis slide up towards your shoulder. So you shorten this side and then lengthen it away again. Notice what happens to the other side of the body, the opposite side of you, what pressing, what's moving, what could you move to make this movement easier. And then let it go. and come and roll over onto your back. Lengthen your legs out, and then notice what you can sense with your back, using your feedback, really using the shoulders, back of your pelvis, noticing the ground underneath you, the floor, the sofa, the bed, using that as feedback for you. What can you sense in your back now compared to how you started? In your shoulders, in your hips. So with your knees bent, feet are just resting there. Take both arms out in front of you, above your head. So your fingertips are pointing up towards the ceiling, in line with your ears. Bend your right elbow and let your left hand touch your right elbow. So right elbow bends, left hand comes over to grab your left elbow. And then your left arm bends and your hand comes over to touch your right elbow. So your bent arms are just above your head or just above your nose, maybe above your chest a little bit. Now take them down towards your trunk, towards your torso, down towards your belly, and let them press down there. Let them clamp down there as if you're pressing your armpit, squeezing, clamping down. Don't hold your breath. And then bring them up. And then take them back towards your forehead, as far back as you feel you can go comfortably within your range, so you're not arching your back and you're not forcing it. And then gently come down again, all the way down towards your belly, and clamp them down onto your belly, squeezing the armpits. You'll find some tension here, some tightness, and then let them lift. Take them back in the direction of your head, where they can go comfortably, and then bring them back forwards, down towards your torso, pressing, clamping down, and then lifting, taking them back in the direction of your head. Maybe they can go a bit further this time, and then clamping down one more time. Clamping, and then releasing, taking them back in the direction of your head. And then just bring them back to where they were, where you started. So they're in front of you, in front of your mouth or above your chest, and keeping the arms in this position, so they're not going to change with the hands on your elbows, but they're going to go and dip towards your right side. So the arms are going to dip towards the right and then come back to the middle. And then they're going to dip towards the left and they're going to come back to the middle. They're going to dip to the right. You might notice the shoulder blade moving. Then they come back to the middle. The fingertips stay resting on the elbows. And you're just going from side to side with the shape of the arms not changing, but they're going from side to side. Nice and simple. And then they come back to the middle. Let the arms go back towards the direction of your head and notice what's changed if it feels different. And then come back to the middle. And again, taking them back if it feels easier. You have more movement and more range. Clamp them down onto the belly. Does that feel different? Does that feel easier? And then bring the arms back out again in line with your chest, with your throat. The fingertips are still on the elbows. Now this time when the arms don't change shape, but they go over to the right, turn your head in the opposite direction. And as the arms come back to the middle, the head comes back. And there's the arms go off to the left, the head goes to the right. So the arms don't change shape, they just change position. Arms in one direction, head in the other. Just alternating, turning, changing. We're working with the little bones in the middle of the back where your ribs are. Go all the way up into the neck where the head's turning in the opposite direction. Softening the jaw, let the tongue rest on the roof of your mouth. Notice what your eyes are doing, what's your breath doing, what's pressing into the floor, and then come back to the middle and let the arms go back overhead again and notice what's changed. Does it feel easier? Are you going further? Get them all the way down, clamp them down to the belly. Does that feel different? And then allow them to come all the way back up. Then come back to the center and rest your arms. Rest your arms down. Have the knees bent, feet are standing. And come back to where we started with this feeling of the seesaw in your pelvis, with the bladder, which is behind your pubic bone and the tailbone. The bladder on one end of the seesaw, tailbone on the other, and then let them play forwards and backwards with the seesaw. And notice this arching and flattening of your lower back. Allowing the head to move, allowing the jaw to feel relaxed. So just allowing this little movement happening upwards, backwards. What's pressing? What could you press into the floor to help the movement? What are your feet doing? Do you feel more pressure into the floor when the bladder's on the seesaw, if it's lifted or if it's lowered? That's it. And then with the back flattened into the floor, you feel that what's happening to the tailbone and what's happening to the bladder. Does the bladder feel that part of the seesaw is lifted, as if it's coming up towards your navel? And then could you go into a little bit of a lift of your pelvis? You could allow the pelvis to lift off the floor. And then it comes back down. And as it comes back down, the tailbone rests down on the floor. And if you're on that seesaw, then we're arching the back, so the tailbone lifts on this end of the seesaw, and the bladder drops forward. So you feel as if your belly's pressing forward, arching the back. And as you start to flatten that back again, notice the bladder going towards the lifted part of the seesaw, goes towards your navel. What's pressing into the floor? As you flatten your back, and you can allow the pelvis to lift, so the tailbone feels as if it's lifting, floating off the floor. The knees feel like they're lengthening away from you, and then you come back down, flattening the back into the floor, letting the back of the tailbone feel heavy. And as you're landing on the floor, allow your back to arch, so creating that space. So the seesaw, bladder side of the seesaw drops down, and the coccyx side of the seesaw lifts. And then go a few more times playing with that arching and flattening, but as you flatten the back, the tailbone lifts, the bladder moves towards your navel, you're rolling the pelvis off the floor, the chin is dropped, but your knees are lengthening away, and then you come back down. And with your feet, as you're playing with this movement, allow your feet to feel as if they're resting on a living being, like a huge elephant, the back of a huge animal maybe, and that's supporting you. So the feet feel totally supported, the back feels totally supported, the head feels supported, your arms feel totally supported by this living being that you're resting on. It's looking out for you, caring for you. And then as you come back down, that living being is still caring for you and supporting you. As you rest your back on the floor, the knees are still bent. You're going to bring your feet and your knees together and allow your knees to drop towards the right side as you turn your head to the left side. Bring the head back to the middle, turn the knees, let them drop towards the left side as you turn the head towards the right side. Still feeling that that living being is beneath you. And then we're going to add the arms. Take the arms out wide, having the palms facing the ceiling. The knees are still bent. Turn your head to face your left hand and let your knees drop towards your right and let the palm turn downwards. That right palm turns down. Your knees are towards the right palm and you're looking towards your left palm, which is facing upwards. You bring the head back to the middle, the knees come back to the middle, turn the left palm down, turn the right palm up as you look towards it, and your knees drop towards the left palm, which is down. You're looking towards your upturned right arm. Turn the right hand down as you look away from it, and your knees go towards that. Look towards your left palm, which is facing upwards. Bring the head back to the middle as the left palm turns down. Bring the knees back to the middle. Look towards your right hand, which is now turning upwards. Let your knees drop towards the left, and the palm is turned down. But you're looking towards your right palm, which is facing upwards. And turn the right palm down. And as you turn your head, look towards the left hand, turning up, and your knees drop towards the right side. And then come back to the middle, let it all go, let it rest. Let the legs come out long, let the arms soften. Notice your breath as you rest here. And as you notice your breath without changing it, could you be aware if you're moving in your body with your breath? How is that happening? What's moving? With the diaphragm moving as you breathe. As you breathe out, it's like an umbrella inside of you that's opening up to press all the air out of you towards the lungs. And as you breathe in, as if that umbrella drops and closes. And as you exhale, it's as if it's opening, pressing upwards. And as you breathe in, it drops, allowing the lungs to fill in with air as it has more space. And notice if you breathe more into your chest or if you're more of a belly breather. Imagine that I had a piece of paper, a piece of A4 on your belly and a piece of A4 on your upper chest here by your sternum. And if you're breathing just normally, and I was looking by the side of you, which piece of paper would move first as I was looking towards you? If you're breathing more into your belly or into your chest. And if there is an area that feels that it's not moving as much when you're breathing. You're breathing into your sides, into your armpits. You could imagine there is an imaginary hand, a little hand inside of your ribs that as you breathe in is gently pressing outwards, and it relaxes as you exhale. But on your inhalation, the hand, imaginary hand inside of you is gently pressing outwards to create space with intercostal muscles between your ribs. You can also imagine that little hand is pressing outwards behind your sternum, behind your chest bone to create more space here and the ribs in front, especially if you spend time sitting, looking at a phone, looking at a laptop. We spend a lot of time in this bent position and get a bit compressed here in the chest. You allow this chest to feel more spacious, more open, as if you're just opening up like a flower to say, hello, I'm greeting the world. In the spring, when all the flowers come out. Now your chest bone to feel as if it's just opening, and that little hand, that imaginary hand behind your chest bone is helping to mold it and create space there. And then let that go, just breathe normally, just breathe as you do. And as you're resting here, notice the support of the ground beneath you. If it feels different to when you started 40 minutes ago, and you just be aware of your breath, any sounds around you apart from my voice, the distance between where you are resting and the window, the distance between where you are resting and the door, the distance between your nose and the ceiling, the distance between the top of your toes and the ceiling, and the distance between yourself, the distance between your right ear and your left ear, the distance between the right side of your pelvis and the left side of your pelvis. Distance between your heels and your toes, the distance between your heels and your armpit, the distance between the sternum, your chest bone, and your shoulder blades, the space between your shoulder blades for the spine to be. And finally, bring your attention back to your face. We were talking in the beginning about the mouth, the width of the mouth, the distance, the smile. How wide is your smile? Can you notice the distance between the right corner of the mouth and the left corner of your mouth? And if you notice the width of your smile, how many widths of your smile would it take to fit between the right side and the left side of your pelvis? How many widths of your smile would it take to fill the space between your right and left ear? And how many widths of your mouth would it take to fill up the length of a foot between your heel and the big toe, top of your big toe? And just gently take that with you as you go throughout your day. So you're going to roll over onto one of your sides. Pause for a moment, allow your eyes to open if they've been closed, and just notice the space around you where you are. And notice it as if you're seeing it for the first time. You don't know what anything's called. You're just seeing shapes, seeing colour, maybe texture, as if you're seeing things for the very first time and noticing what draws your attention. Maybe resting your eyes on something for a moment, being aware of what it is, the shape of it, as if it's brand new to you. You notice your breath as you notice the object you're looking at. You notice your hands, feet, pelvis, legs. And then take that feeling with you throughout your day as you keep that awareness of yourself and where you are, your surroundings, your external environment and your internal environment. And happy practicing. I hope you practice often. And any questions or any comments, please leave them below and I will come back to you.